Well, I'm here with the great Michael Gardner, the producer on the first two On These Airwaves albums. First one was Sunset Provisions. That's when Mike and I first worked together. And the second, and the one I want to talk to him about today, is Majors and Minors, our second. And I think that this second record was a much more of a collaborative effort with you and me on it. We're going to go through later and talk about the different songs on Majors and Minors, but three of those songs were songs that you really wrote. Whereas the first record was really just my songs. Here, I luckily made a smart decision and said, hey, Mike, you got some good songs, and you did. So we want to talk about that.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, so, the first record, Sunset Provisions, was really, I think, a bit of a lighter type of record. It was about birth to death and traveling around the sun and a person's life. And that was completed in 2009. In 2012 is when Majors and Minors was completed. And of course, we were in the midst of a war that may be a non-ending war as things go. But I think the record really approach or really is about wartime. So it's a much darker record, a much heavier record than Sunset Provisions. The term Majors and Minors, Mike, we always think about that in musical terms.
Right.
Yeah, major chords, minor chords, and so forth. But I wanted to have a second meaning, and that is, majors in the military.
Right.
And minors as in minor children, because often they're the ones that are impacted mostly by war.
Right. Yeah. You got the ones that say go do it, and then you got the grunts that go.
That's right. And so that duality really comes into play throughout this whole record, because the Majors and Minors record also has a second name to it. We call it Majors and Minors, but the second name is War and Love and. And then the other thing that I thought, again, with this whole concept of two meanings, each song on the record has a second name. So I wanted to be unique that way. I'm sure it's been done before, but for instance, the very first song on the record is called Angel Feathers, and the second name is Just Her Nature. And then Toes in the Shadows has a second name, Bright Black, and so forth and so on. And we'll talk about these each as we go through that. But anyway, that was my concept in terms of the record, and then the what you contributed fit perfectly in as well. So we go into the studio, and we finally know a little bit more. I know more what I'm doing on record number 2, and we have some different players playing with us.
Right.
So the only holdover from the first record, other than you and me, is Dave Atkinson, who just lent his beautiful voice to a lot of the songs on the record, and sounded, I think, just beautiful. He's got such a beautiful voice.
And it matched up well with the songs, I think. Somehow or another, it was like, that was part of that that duality or interconnectivity.
Yeah.
So sometimes if you sometimes opposites are what you want in music production. Sometimes you want something that's a little, that has a meaning that you don't get right away.
Right.
I think that's important for a record, for its longevity.
To me, Mike, I've always enjoyed songs and albums, records, where perhaps the first time you listen to it, you don't quite get. But after repeated listenings, then it starts to make sense and you understand where the artist is coming from. And to me, that has a much longer lasting impact on me,
Right.
than something that is too straightforward.
Well, you get to glean something of the music that's not just what the notes printed on a page.
Yeah.
You get to know the person, their motive, their what they're really good at, and maybe what they need help because it's something they haven't done before, or been asked to do, or whatever, or just it'd be interesting to walk into a room with guitars that are all in open tunings and find one and write a song to it.
And in fact, that is what happened on this record. So when we say open tunings, not your standard tunings, and we'll talk about that specifically as we go through the songs. Okay. But yeah, you're right. That changes things. So you and me, and then Dave. But then we had the introduction of some other just phenomenal players that were with us. And of course, the first I have to mention is our very good friend, Tom Yoder.
Yeah.
Tom's an unbelievable guitar player, unbelievable musician. And person, yes. All those. And so this was the first opportunity to really include him, in the recordings.
Right.
And although he wasn't an outright writer of any of the songs, what he contributed was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I continue to this day to partner with him.
Sure.
And
what a great alliance.
I'm the fortunate one in that deal, that's for sure. And then we brought in Dave Adams on keyboards.
Right. Who's a longtime friend of mine.
Yep, longtime friend of yours. And Dave had some great success back in the day as well, didn't he?
Yeah. This was actually kind of during the day of MTV, when they actually still had videos and music.
Right. What band?
It was a band called Glass Moon.
Right.
And they had some success with a remake of the Hollies song
On a Carousel.
On a Carousel. Dave is a really bright, aware musician with tons of skills. Yeah. He was at Peter Gabriel's studio. He went to he did his record in England because it really was an English band just by American guys.
Right. Well, I can very distinctly remember him playing keyboards, and if I had an idea, hey, Dave, can you play this is the idea I have here. Can you play something like that? And he would play it and make it better.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what I was thinking, but you even did it better than that. So.
Right.
And then on drums, we had your old friend, Kenny Soul. The fabulous Kenny Soul. That's right. And Kenny, of course, played with you, but Nantucket was a band that he was involved with. I know you produced a live record for the band Nantucket.
Yeah.
And
played on it.
And played on it too. Yeah. Okay. What haven't you done, for God's sakes? Yeah. So Kenny, phenomenal musician.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and that's he's such a great guy to write with because he gets it. Yeah. I mean, you just a couple of clues and he already knows what he needs to be doing. Yeah. If you're writing that Tom Petty song, is it's not a bunch of drumming. Right. It's just keeping the pocket.
Yeah. I remember a couple times, or just on one particular song, I said, let this be your little drum. Let this be your drum solo, even though it's not a drum solo. And he knew exactly what I meant by that. It's near the end of Toes in the Shadows. And so he got it right away. I'm like, this is so nice.
With pros, man.
With pros like that, yeah. The cover of Majors and Minors, I don't know if that comes out good on the screen here, but the cover on it, the photography was done by my great friend Mike Sleer. And my other friend, George Durand, helped kind of put things together. So when you look at this cover, you think, what is that a picture of? And we'll have to ask Mike Sleer that. I know the answer. Let's just say water. And then if we can get a close up on this, you'll see an older man and a younger child, and hence the major and the minor. And the discerning eye will see that if they take enough time to look at it. So majors and minors, it'll be fun to go through and talk about the different songs and how they all came out.
Can I tell you what my impression was about the cover?
Oh, yeah.
What was if you look right here, you'll see the two sunken eyes of a skull.
Indeed, you can.
And this looks like embryos down here.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
I never thought about it that way.
But that does look like a skull, doesn't it?
It sure does. I never noticed that. Well, thanks for sharing. Did you ever notice the kids on it?
They're having twins.
Well, that is one of the great things about music, isn't it? That everything is open to interpretation. Right.
Yes.
Right? Even with songs. And I know we'll be talking about the songs, but quite frankly, I sometimes hesitate to talk a little bit about what my idea was, because I don't want to take away from what it means to somebody else.
Right.
But I might do it anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's first person then.
That's right. Yeah. So, that's interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Well, let's take a few moments and we'll talk about the songs, shall we?
Great.
Okay.
Awesome.
I never knew that. That's interesting.